Have you ever wanted to get into the Ivy League? Have you dreamed of the successful life you'd have if you did so? Have you watched hundreds of thousands of videos trying to find an answer to the age-old question of, how do I get in? And never found one? Well, sit back, relax, and take it all in. Because you're about to learn how to do just that here today. But before we get there, let me tell you a quick story. It all started the spring of my senior year of high school. On a cool spring day in late March of 2018, I awaited the results of my Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale applications. Seconds turned to minutes as time slowed down to a near stop in the hours leading up to the dreaded application release time. After what felt like 5 years later, it was finally 7 p.m. I took a breath and opened up the application portal. My heart was racing as I anticipated the result. Would it be an acceptance? A rejection? What would the outcome of this decision be? The page loaded. Time slowed to a stop. I took another breath and clicked on the decision portion of the portal. Everything seemed to move in slow motion as this page loaded. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4. It finally loaded. And almost immediately I saw a word that caught my eye and ultimately changed my life forever. Congratulations. I got into Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale in the spring of my senior year of high school. And if you're interested in the full story, head over to this video to learn some more about that. But in a nutshell, after I got into Princeton, I started working with a number of students and parents to help them get in as well. As I worked with and coached more students, I started picking up on a particular trend. The students I worked with who ended up going to Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, my friends at the universities, and other people I knew who were students there, tended to have some things in common. Curious, I looked into this further, researching different YouTube videos to see if my observations were on the right track. And just like I thought, people who were accepted into certain schools like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale tended to fall into certain archetypes, certain groups, and those who actually made it into the universities needed to have similarities in their application and how they went about getting into these type of schools. And that leads me right into this. If you haven't watched this video here, I suggest you pause here, watch it, then come back to this video to get a background on the different types of schools and the types of students each school tends to accept. However, as a quick refresher, the different school types are Humanities Havens, schools that specialize in the humanities and tend to accept students interested in those fields. Technology Towns, schools who specialize in the STEM fields and tend to accept students who are interested in STEM as well. Political Science Paradises, schools who specialize in politics and the social sciences and tend to accept students who are interested in those fields. And finally, Business Boroughs, schools who are dedicated to their business schools and accept students interested in business and the finance spaces. Similar to that on the student side, the 5 common student types are the STEM Scholar, a student whose resume is peppered and colored by their passion for and participation in the STEM fields. The Humanities Intellectual, a student whose extracurricular experience in high school is dominated by their experiences in the humanities. The Sharp Social Scientist, a student obsessed with the social sciences and spends a lot of their time exploring that passion. The Professional Polymath, the student who's interested in a number of different subjects and extracurriculars and does them all very well. And then finally, the Athletic Academic, an athletic student whose resume is mostly composed of their athletic achievements and accomplishments. Now, Stanford is a technology town, so the advice given in this video will be the best advice any student should apply if they hope to get into not only Stanford, but similar schools like it as well. With all that being said, here's the strategy and advice each type of student can use to get into a school like Stanford. We're going to look at what it takes for each archetype of student to get into a school like Stanford and what they would need to do each year, starting from their freshman year going all the way to the winter of their senior year to have the best chance of getting in. The sharp social scientist, while usually facing a somewhat similar problem humanities intellectuals face when applying to the schools they want, this problem being that there are so many applicants of this type that it's tough to stand out. For this particular school, however, they receive a slight boost in their odds of being accepted. As mentioned before, Stanford is a technology town, which for the sharp social scientist is a good school for them to apply to. They on average get a 1.20 multiplier on their odds of making it to the school, which increases their odds from 5.2% to 6.24%. It isn't a large increase, but it is an increase nonetheless. In other words, about 1 out of 16 sharp social scientists who apply to Stanford will be accepted. Now let's take a look at what a person needs to do, starting from their freshman year, to be that one person out of 16 who does in fact make it into Stanford. Summer still lingers in the air as you take your very first steps as a freshman in high school. As I mentioned before when discussing humanities intellectuals, this is where the college race truly begins. How you start this race, the foundation you build, will either give you a much better chance of getting into the school of your dreams or make those dreams much tougher to achieve. This year, for all students, is about exploration. This means that you should stay open-minded about the different classes you're taking, look and see which, if any, you find interesting, and figure out the things you don't want to do. Once you're able to answer that question, it becomes much easier to figure out what you actually do want to do. Some important questions you want to answer during this time are: 1. Which fields do I find the most interesting? Is it math and sciences or the humanities and social sciences? 2. Are there any sports that interest me enough into committing to them for a full season for a number of years to make a varsity position and qualify for a leadership role? Figuring these two things out at this point in your high school career will give you a massive leg up over the competition and place you in a phenomenal position to succeed later on in your high school career. Now fast forward to the summer after your freshman year is over, and you're a little clearer about what you want to do. You know that you don't like math and sciences too much, and you're not interested in participating in a sport for a number of years in your high school career. With that figured out, we enter your sophomore year. Now you're a sophomore. You have 1 full year under your belt now. You're not quite a veteran at the school, but you know your way around and you're familiar with how the school works. You're friendly with many of the students and some of the teachers at the school and have a much better idea of your place in the school environment. This year, however, things are going to become much more serious, especially for those who are interested in the humanities or social science fields. Now during this year, it's important that a student starts to distinguish themselves as either humanities intellectual or sharp social scientist. While most other student types have a little bit of wiggle room to figure themselves out a little bit more, aspiring humanities intellectuals or sharp social scientists have to make this decision by the end of their sophomore year so that they can 1. Take the required classes and most importantly, do the required extracurriculars to build on their resume and stand out to the colleges they want to get into. If a student is leaning towards becoming a sharp social scientist at this stage of their high school career, they need to ask themselves 3 critical questions before the end of this year. 1. Am I more interested in the humanities or social science fields? 2. If I'm interested in the social science fields, which classes do I need to take next year to put myself in a good academic position heading into my senior year? 3. What social science extracurriculars can I do and commit to starting my sophomore year so I can attain leadership positions in those clubs by the fall of my senior year? Answering these 3 questions will set a student up for maximum success when they truly start the college application process in their junior year. After a fairly eventful summer hanging out with friends and traveling with friends and family, we're back in school for the autumn of your junior year, a year when things become much more intense. Now, out of all years in their high school career, the junior year of a sharp social scientist high school career is the most important. During this year, they have a number of questions to answer, things to complete, and places to go to before the start of their senior year. During this year, we advise that all students applying to schools of an elite caliber like Stanford take AP classes in both the humanities and social science fields, if possible. Courses like AP United States History, AP European History, AP Literature, AP Language and Composition, AP Government and Politics, etc. fit this bill in our fantastic academic coursework for a high school student's resume. Beyond that, students who are especially of this archetype need to focus heavily on demonstrating academic rigor in the courses they take and the extracurriculars they participate in. Things like scoring 5s on your AP tests, scoring 1,600 on the SAT, being the valedictorian of your class, working on a research project with a college professor in a given field, are things which will make a student of this archetype stand out to a college like Stanford. And it will be what truly separates those who will ultimately get into Stanford and those who will be frozen out of there. Now let's fast forward to the spring of your junior year. At this point, you're rounding the corner headed towards the final destination, the winter of your senior year. During this time, a student should set themselves up early so that they're in a good position to be off to the races once they start their applications in the fall. Just like for the humanities intellectual, this entails asking for recommendations from the teachers they want early, usually in the spring of their junior year, touring the schools you're interested in that spring or summer before your senior year, taking the SAT at least 2 times before the end of the summer before your senior year, and starting the process of writing the initial draft of your common application essays. With all this in place, we can fast forward to the summer of your junior year where everything is finally taken into account. This summer is the most important summer for every single type of student. And for those who are in steep competition for a limited number of spots, it's even more important. Your goal for this summer is to finalize your application essays and do extensive research on the schools you're looking to apply to. By doing this, you'll be in a fantastic position to capitalize on the very thing that'll be key for you getting to Stanford: early admission. As mentioned before, I could do an entire video speaking on this point in time in the student's application alone. But what matters is that you've completed as much as possible of your application to these various schools, or at least set yourself to do so, before the autumn of your senior year. Now finally, we enter the autumn of your senior year. Here's where we can go into the nitty-gritty details as it relates to a specific strategy for applying to Stanford as a sharp social scientist. Now it's finally the autumn of your senior year, the time when everything you did in the previous 3 years of high school come into play. Before this point, everything you did was simply set up to help put you in the best position to get into Stanford. Now let's actually talk about how you'll get in. The first thing you'll want to do is apply early. I cannot stress this enough, but students who apply early, especially those who are among the top level applications to a given school, get a tremendous boost in terms of their odds of making it into the school they want. Let me explain how. Looking online, the accepted early application acceptance rate for Stanford hovers right around 9%. Now, do you know what the regular application acceptance rate is? Less than 2%. For sharp social scientists, these numbers are a little bit better. For them, their early application acceptance rate is about 11%, with their regular application acceptance rate just over 2%. These two wildly differing numbers are why a student who is interested in going to an Ivy League school or an Ivy League caliber school needs to apply early to that school. They get a substantial increase in their odds of getting in because there are simply fewer people applying, and thus more of a chance to wow an admission officer and claim those critical yes spots early. The next thing all sharp social scientists should do if they want to be the 1 out of 16 sharp social scientists who apply to Stanford and get in is to focus on highlighting their academic rigor throughout their application. This is critical. What Stanford is looking for from this type of student is individual competency. They want to see that this type of student can handle a challenging course load and not just survive it, but thrive. Demonstrating academic rigor in your application to a school like Stanford will help show them that you can handle a school like that. On top of that, you might add value to the school in a way most students fail to mention at all, through research. Stanford is one of the top research universities in the world. It is known for its groundbreaking and cutting-edge research and researchers. Showing your academic rigor lets the school know that you will fit in perfectly into this research culture and could potentially add value to the school by further solidifying Stanford's reputation as the headquarters of innovation across the world. This will catch the eye of admissions officers and help them see that you'd be a perfect fit for the Stanford campus. The third and final thing a sharp social scientist should do to put themselves in the best position of getting into Stanford is highlight their desire to change the world. Just like with academic rigor, demonstrating a desire to change the world helps a student show, in no uncertain terms, that they fit right into the Stanford culture. In the social science space, there are ample opportunities to have an impact on the world at large. One could be a politician who creates new laws and rules that help influence the direction of a city, state, or nation. One could be a lawyer who helps people on an individual scale level better their lives. Or one could be an economist, helping people understand how the world's money works to help them make better decisions about their future. As Stanford prides itself on being the school people go to change the world, demonstrating the desire to change the world will fit right into the Stanford culture and help show them that you belong there. I could use an entire video breaking down this particular strategy even more, as there are a number of things a sharp social scientist could do to improve their application even further. If you'd like to see that, leave a comment below letting me know, and I'll be sure to make a video diving even deeper into this particular topic. But in broad terms, the 3 steps to getting into Stanford are as follows. Step 0. Set yourself up for success. This step is the step that gives you a fighting chance of even being considered in the first place by a university like Stanford and getting your foot in the door, so to speak. This means that a student needs to have taken and done fairly well on the SAT, taken a few, if not more, humanities and social science-based AP tests, and scored well on them, and also participate in eye-catching clubs and extracurriculars that will make them stand out long before they ever start to apply to college. This step is the most important step and helps put a student in a good position for the following steps. Step 1. Apply early. This applies to all students who want to go to a particular school in the Ivy League. If you have a dream school in mind that you'd like to go to, make sure you apply early to that school. There are a number of benefits that come about from applying early, but the main one is that your odds of getting into a school like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, etc. can increase by 5, 6, or even 7-fold by simply applying early. Every student, especially a sharp social scientist, should capitalize on this advantage by putting themselves in the best position to apply early with a stellar application. Step 2. Show your academic rigor. Elite schools are looking for elite students who can perform at an elite level. Schools like Stanford, schools known for their academic rigor and research prowess, are looking for students who can not only keep up with the material presented to them, but take it a step further and contribute knowledge no one has ever seen before. A student who shows that they can do this will be a student who is highly sought after by Stanford and universities like it. Step 3. Highlight your desire to change the world. This last step is the cherry on top of a sharp social scientist college application. It's what takes a good application and makes it truly extraordinary. The reason for this is because, as mentioned before, culture is critical when applying to college, and most times, a school's culture is overlooked when students apply to a given school. Thus, finding a student who very clearly fits into the culture will be a breath of fresh air for admissions officers and will give them the reassurance they need to put your application in the accepted pile. If you're a sharp social scientist, following those 3, 4 including step 0, will give you a substantial increase in your odds of getting to Stanford. While this video did go somewhat in depth into this topic, I recommend taking a look at some of the helpful links in the description box below, as it contains helpful material that goes much deeper into this topic than I could do so here. If you'd like me to make a video diving even deeper into this subject and the strategies for this type of student, just leave a comment below letting me know and I'll be sure to make one. Now let's move on to the STEM scholar. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate all the likes, shares, subscriptions, support, everything. If you'd like to see another video or another school or a different student type in a different environment, just comment it down below and I'll be sure to do that. If you haven't seen the full video, just head to the first link in the description box below. It should be there. Or wait 30 seconds till the end of this bit and you can click on the card to the full video or the card to the playlist that covers everything related to getting to Stanford for all the different student types. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video.